So what I want to do over the next few minutes is I'll give you a good overview of Imaflex. We'll look at the core flexible packaging business that we're operating in, and then jump in and look at the agricultural space. We're doing some exciting things on that side as well, and we'll look at some of the growth opportunities for both businesses on top of that. Now, before we begin, the usual, just to remind you that today's remarks may contain forward-looking statements, and I invite you to read the safe harbor passage before you. It'll also be available on our website following today's event. So Imaflex manufactures and sells products for the flexible packaging and the agricultural space. The company was founded back in 1994 by 3 individuals, and those individuals are still with the company to this day. They bring in-depth experience in the extrusion business, which is the making of flexible packaging, as well as in the converting business, which is the printing and the bag making side of things. We have 3 manufacturing facilities, 2 of those being in Quebec, 1 in Thomasville, North Carolina. We have about 260 employees, revenues of $111 million in 2022, and we have an attractive financial profile. We are profitable. We've had 3 consecutive years of record net income, 18 cents a share last year. We have solid cash flows, which is helping us grow the business, and basically very low levels of debt, almost nil. Looking at the company a little bit closer, we primarily manufacture polyethylene film for converters. Just going to put this down on the floor here. For converters, as I mentioned, converters are like printers. They take our product and make a finished good. It could be bread bags, soil bags, wood chip bags, you name it. We do it. It's a $30 billion industry. We play a large part in that industry. We're in fact one of the top 100 North American film and sheet manufacturers, where I think we're number 83 on the list. So we play a large part in that, mostly within the food industry. In addition, we make integrated products. So that includes the extruded film, the printed film, and the bag making. That's done out of our US facility. We also take all of the waste that we have in the manufacturing process, and we make industrial products, so garbage bags, bags and rolls, Gaylord bags, tire bags, etc. In addition, we offer the full spectrum of mulch films. So those are your traditional mulch films for weed control, to increase soil retention, to increase water retention, barrier films to reduce nuisance odors, stop evaporation. We also make compostable films, both on the ag side and on the flexible packaging side. Our films are ASTM 6400 certified to be biodegradable within 180 days. It's not a big seller, I'll be honest with you right now. The reason being, it costs 2 to 3 times the price to buy a compostable product. Everybody's watching their coin right now. You'd hear about it at the grocery stores, etc. Not a big seller right now, but we will be ready, and we use resins made of plant-based sources, PLA, or else chemically modified resins to be fully biodegradable within 180 days. We also have metallized films for crop protection and yield enhancement, as well as insect control. Now, in terms of growth opportunities, we have 2 key growth opportunities. One on the flexible packaging side. In 2022, we announced that we'd be making some equipment purchases. We're using the same playbook that we had back in 2019 when we announced a new extruder and a new printer for US facilities. We saw some nice traction following that with the increased scale, etc. We're doing the same thing for this coming year. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. As well, on the agricultural film side, we have a new technology which uses 95% less chemicals than what is currently being used for pre-plant soil fumigation. And so it's a nice opportunity on that side. That product is currently before the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for approval. It took a little bit longer than we wanted. Some of that was due to us. A lot of it was not due to us, but it is now before the U.S. EPA, and we should have approval for that product in the coming months or quarters. Now, looking at that first opportunity in terms of the increased equipment capacity and capabilities, we are purchasing 3 multi-layer extruders and a metallizer that will allow us to replace aging assets and also increase our capabilities and the amount of film, the capacity that we can produce. It basically increases our overall extrusion capacity by about 20% and it doubles our multi-layer film capacity and generates about 12 to 15 million pounds of additional film that we can produce on an annual basis. In terms of the revenue stream, well, because we're buying the multi-layer extruders, it allows us to increase the capabilities, offering much more complex barrier packaging options to extend shelf life, to extend and reduce spoilage. So when we look at this side here, this is a much more value-added product used for dairy products, meats, etc. When you go to the grocery store and you buy those, that's what we are selling to them with these multi-layer extruders. In terms of timing, we first received the metallizer this year, and we received one extruder, a 3-layer extruder, for our Canadian facility. That is now up and running, and we are going to see the benefits from that over the coming year. As well, we have the other 2 extruders, 5-layer extruders, that will be coming in Q4 of this year, one of them, and Q1 of next year, assuming that the supply chain challenges that have gotten better but still exist are on track in terms of the delivery. In terms of utilization of that extruder, it takes typically 18 to 24 months for a new extruder to become fully utilized. So we will see a little bit of a lag. When I say lag, it takes time for that extruder to be fully utilized. What we tend to do when we have a new extruder, we will use it for all types of product offerings. So it could be monolayer, 3-layer, 5-layer, etc. And we'll utilize that until we can maximize the 5-layer offerings. We've also engaged some new US talent in terms of the sales team. So we are getting ready for that new equipment to come on board and be able to get those boots on the ground to sell that and make sure that we can utilize the equipment as it comes online. In terms of financing, as I mentioned to you, we have very little financing. We had $3 million of cash at the end of last quarter. It's about $2.7 million of debt. And we've added in there some lease financing last quarter in terms of the 3-layer extruder that we acquired. We got some lease financing, about $4 million for that. We should be getting some more financing for the other extruder in Canada. For the US, we'll just finance that through the cash flows that we have. In terms of Advasil, that's the other side of the business, and that's that product I talked to you about, the agricultural film. Advasil is an intelligent active ingredient release film designed to replace chemical fumigation. So what do I mean by that? Well, currently what growers do to get land ready for growing season is they will come along and they'll fumigate the land with pesticides. So nematicides to kill the insects, fungicides to kill the fungi, herbicides to kill the weeds. They come along, they basically take a tractor like you see here, they take it through the ground, they inject those chemicals into the ground. Immediately behind the tractor is another one, or on that particular tractor itself, that lays down film. You've probably been in the country before, you've smelt that putrid smell, it smells like bad eggs. That film covers the ground, it basically stops the evaporation of the chemicals, and it stops the nuisance odors that you have. Well, what our film is one that we believe is much more effective and much more environmentally friendly to replace the current practice, and that is a clean, non-fumigant alternative for pre-plant soil fumigation or disinfestation. So what we basically do is we take all those chemicals that I just mentioned to you and we put them on the agricultural film. It's actually Bayer that first approached us, Bayer aspirin. They had an idea of putting an herbicide on a film and then placing that film on the ground and letting those chemicals release into the soil. What they were finding is that the film was basically not remaining intact when the chemicals were applied, and as a result, they came to us to see if we could resolve that. We did do that, but as we were going along, growers were saying to us, you know what, you should have all the chemicals on the film itself. So not only the herbicide, but the nematicide and the fungicide. So that's what we've been doing over the past number of years. We bought the rights from Bayer. We brought the individual over in Germany that was working on the project for Bayer, and he's now working with us, and we were able to come up with the solution to have all chemicals on the film. Basically what happens then is the grower no longer has to take the land and the tractor, put those ingredients into the soil. He just lays the film on the soil. That moisture from the soil rises, it hits the film, it activates the release of the chemicals into the soil in a very safe, timely, cost-effective manner. does not require any protective gear except for a pair of gloves. And as you can imagine, it's safe to handle, transport, and apply, meets the demand for sustainable farming, increases productivity, decreases costs, and it's good for the environment. It uses 95% plus less chemicals. So you're talking about hundreds of pounds of chemicals currently used in the fumigation process. Ours is 95+% less than that on a acre per acre basis. So that's a pretty interesting solution, we believe. Now, as part of bringing this product to market, we had 2 independent field trials done to test to make sure it works the way that we wanted. One was called the efficacy trial, the other was the release study. In terms of the efficacy trial, what we did is we wanted to make sure that when that film was being laid on the ground, that it was sanitizing the soil in the manner in which we would expect, comparable to the current grower standard using fumigants. In addition, what we wanted to see is a plant growth, yield, and quality comparable to the current grower standard. And what we found in that independent study is that both objectives were being met. The land was being sanitized as we had hoped, and the growth, yield, and quality of the actual plant. We used tomatoes because it's one of the most widely grown crops in the world. We used that, and it was similar to the current grower standard. Now with that, we conducted the release study, which is even more important. In fact, it's the most important for the EPA because it looks at safety. And when we talk about safety, basically what we're saying there is the timing of the chemicals being released into the soil in compliance with what they call the PHI, the pre-harvest interval. That means, are the chemicals entering the soil and giving enough time between the entering of the soil and when the crop is picked for safe human consumption? You have to show that there's a sufficient period of time between those two things. We were able to show that in the independent study, and as a result of that, we went ahead and we prepared the Avicil registration package. So what we've done now is we submitted that at the end of last year. The EPA has said that it usually takes about a year to be approved, so it could be Q4 of this year, it could be Q1 of next year when we hear what is the outcome of that study. We believe that it will be effective, it will be effectively approved. Why? Because one, the chemicals that we are using are essentially equivalent to what growers are using today. We're just using a lot less of it. Two, we had that herbicide film I spoke to you about earlier that Barry had originally asked us to do. That one was approved. And three, there's more heightened move towards sustainability. So we think these 3 factors play in our favor. Right now, there's back and forth between the company and the EPA. As you can imagine, it's a little bit more complex than when we had the herbicide film because now we've got the herbicide, fungicides, nematicides, which are a lot more chemicals. So you have questions and safety concerns and that have to be met and shown through data. In terms of performance for the company's financials, so this slide shows you from 2019 to 2022 on an annual basis in the first half of 2023. As you'll see there, we've seen some pretty good numbers over the past number of years. Record net income for each of the past 3 years, as you see there, 18 cents a share last year. Positive cash flows. We had $14.6 million that we spent on equipment purchases last year, and we still generated $2.7 million of cash flows. We've got next to no debt, as I mentioned to you. We have seen a bit of weakness in 2023. The reason being is the recessionary environment. It's not a systemic issue to Imaflex, but we've seen on the industrial side, et cetera, some weakness there. We will get through this period. We've got the new equipment coming on board. Some people say, would you have ordered as much equipment? Probably not, but it takes over a year to get that equipment on board. So what we will get through, we'll get through this down market that we have right now, and as things start to pick up, we'll be in a position to capitalize on the growth opportunities that are out there. But right now, there's volume pressures, and our competitors are lowering prices, and we have to compete with them, and as a result, we lower prices as well. On sales, you do have to be a little bit careful because sales is dictated by resin prices. We keep our contribution margin, but if sales prices go up, sometimes it could be because we're selling a higher end product, sometimes it could be because of resin pricing, i.e., when resin prices go up, we take those additional costs and we pass that along to the consumer. When resin prices go down, we take those prices decreases and we pass it on to the consumer as well. But we keep the contribution for each side of the coin. We don't have fixed contracts, by the way, so we're able to move that fairly quickly. In terms of stock, the stock has traded between 91 cents and $1.80 over the past year, currently trading at $1. As you can see, some of the trading multiples there, we believe that we're trading at a fairly attractive multiple right now for those people interested in adding to their position or interested in taking a position in the company. We're trading below book value at this point in time. We've got about 52 million shares outstanding. It's not a lot, including the options, about 53 million. Insider ownership, 55% is held by insiders. Market cap about 52 million based on the $1 price that we currently have. So it's, we believe, as I mentioned, something that is attractive at these levels, and we encourage people, obviously, to follow the story. You know, some people say, you know, you're in the flexible packaging or the plastic space, and we're well aware of where we operate. We're also well aware of the important role that we play to protect and preserve food products. We were mandated during COVID to stay open because of the fact that we protect and preserve food products. But we're also well aware that we have to play an important role in reducing our environmental footprint. And as a result, we are focused on making films that are much more environmentally friendly. As I mentioned to you, we're working with our resin manufacturers, we're working with our customers to ensure that we have products that are compostable, that are ASTM 6400 approved to be used with both food and non-food products. And we are also using, as I mentioned, all of the waste that we have in the manufacturing process, taking that, using it for industrial uses, garbage bags, etc. And we've also been recognized for other things that we've been doing, including, for example, reducing our footprint from a electrical side of the coin. As you can imagine, we use a lot of electricity, and we received an award from the Quebec government for the efforts that we have taken to reduce our electricity consumption. In terms of eco-friendly films, as I mentioned, we've got the ag films, we've got the FDA-approved food packaging films, we've got non-food related compostable films. Not a big seller, as I mentioned right now, but something that we have to be ready for going forward, because it will become increasingly important. We're seeing that in Europe, and it will make its way here more and more as we go forward. Just in conclusion, you know, we're, as I mentioned, a recognized industry leader. We are serving very attractive and growing multi-billion-dollar markets. We are profitable with a healthy capital structure and strong cash flows. We have a strong core flexible packaging business, which is helping us to fund the growth, both on the core flexible packaging side and on the agriculture side. We have a good, solid set of offerings that's getting stronger with those new equipment pieces that we're bringing on board. And we've got the new opportunities that lie ahead with Advasil, and also with the new equipment purchases that could bring a lot of different business opportunities for the company going forward. And with that, that's it for today. Well, thank you, guys. I encourage you to follow the stock, and thank you very much.